Welcome to Cycling Fashion Week, the only global podcast that considers cycling purely from the entirely superficial points of view of looks, style, and fashion. I am your host, Alex. I am joined by my co-hosts, Tony and Warren, and a very special guest this week, Lily Hansen-Gillis. She is a cycling writer and journalist, and she's going to join us co-hosting this week's show. How are we doing, everyone, this week?
We're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So we've actually invited Lily this week because she has some very important hot takes about several, I would say, key elements in the women's cycling fashion industry that she wanted to share with us. And I think it's important that we voice them on this podcast. Lily, you're a cycling journalist and writer, and I heard you're also a beast on the bike.
That is a very nice compliment, and I will take it.
Not that it matters that she's fast. It should, because that's not important here. She is also very stylish, but we have to debate whether it's discouraged or not, because fast is still pro and looking good is pro. It could all tie in, but she does have a bike with drop seat stays, so we can debate some stuff about her, but overall she's got a lot of style. She's a great rider.
I think that's a future episode discussion: is fast and stylish, is that better? But we'll get to that. Get to that point. Tony, I hear you had something you wanted to mention, something you saw out in the wild today.
Oh yeah, of course. I was on the lakeshore in Toronto, Ontario, and there was a gentleman. I tried to get a pic, but he was just a little bit too far ahead of me, in a GCN kit. I should actually say, I think it was just the jersey, in the wild, riding a bike. I saw him with the bike. And in classic, someone who would buy GCN jersey fashion, he also was wearing Adidas running shoes with flat pedals. So I think we know the level of style, someone who's willing to fork out some euros, some pounds for a GCN jersey.
Was he faster than you? Were you able to catch up to him, or?
I wasn't at this point because I was actually running on the lakeshore and was not biking.
Oh no! I have to wonder, like, what's worse, being out riding in a GCN kit or running? I actually don't know what's worse. I think running, for me anyway, is in the canal.
Does that make him a triathlete?
I mean, he had to be worse than me running, but yeah, I still think there's a lot of elegance in running. And sometimes you got a busy day at work and you just need to get your cardio up and get going. I mean, I'm admitting that sometimes I think of fitness and I hate to do it, but for everyone out there, my running kit is also on point. It looks great. I'm very stylish while running.
That's great. You'll be really well dressed when you get very injured.
Oh yeah, this is a hot take of Lily's. Every time someone runs, that's a great way to get injured.
I'm not saying I do it myself sometimes. I also run sometimes and then I get injured. So
the only 3 times I've run my entire life, I've gotten injured. So I think it's inevitable.
There's something wrong with you guys. Maybe it's because one of my knees is already so destroyed that it can't get any worse. So
we've covered this. Well, not on this show, but in life, that you and your family are like the $6 million man, which for our younger listeners out there, that's a reference to a very old TV show where this guy gets rebuilt and he's superhuman, essentially. That's the joke we're getting at. But yeah, Tony's definitely going to need 3 new knees, probably.
All right, so for our first segment today, which is the segment where we review new releases, new products that have just come out, we're going to talk about a new kit that was just released this week by actually an Italian frame manufacturer by the name of Stelbel. For our listeners who don't know what Stelbel is, they're based in northern Italy. They make steel frames. So Stelbel, the name is actually named after the name of the frame maker himself, Stelio Belletti. And if you follow them on Instagram at Stelbel, you can see that their frames are really the pinnacle of Italian steel frame sophistication. The finishing on those frames is incredible. If you see anyone on the road, riding a Stelbel, which I don't think you will actually, because it's very rare, that person is definitely a Euro god. So this company released a kit. Nothing too special about the kit. We'll post photos on our Instagram at Cycling Fashion Week. Make sure to go follow us there. The kit is pretty basic. It's pretty much, solid colors. There's like a pale kind of beige/yellow, written Stelbel on it. The bibs are black. There's nothing too special about it. Pretty nice from my perspective, but I just want to ask the crew, what did we think of that specific release?
This is terrible. You are correct, Alex, in saying that the Stelbel has probably some of the most beautiful bikes that I've never seen in the wild, but that I've seen on Instagram. They do a lot of great stuff. Very simple, clean lines, often matching the stem and seat post color, the frame color, which is beautiful. So this release of their kit looks like they've got sort of 4 jerseys and a bib, is very disappointing. They've got the one style you sort of said, it's kind of a beige, pinkish, the Bergamo, and it's the nicest one. But again, depending on your skin tone, this would be a hard thing to wear, hard thing to pull off if you're if you're an Irish lad or something like that. And then the other ones are just meh. Like, I mean, I said terrible, but maybe I should just say meh. There's just nothing to it. I would never get up and really be excited by this at all.
Totally disagree. I think it's an amazing release. And here's why. First of all, Stelbel. You want to buy a bike from Stelbel, you go to their website. What does it say right away? It says, we are not fulfilling orders right now. Our bikes are not available. You cannot get them. Genius manufacturing move. This is the Rolex model where you advertise like crazy on social media. You want people to want your products. People are just lusting after them. They come to a retail location or your website. They're like, I've saved my 12,000 euros or 15,000 euros or whatever it is. I want to buy a Stelbel. And what do they tell you? No, you're not good enough for it. You can't buy it. It's not available. I think it's genius. And what are they doing there? They're really propping up the value of their bikes, their frames, by making them unavailable. And they're flogging cheap kit on the side to generate cash flow and income. I think from a marketing perspective, it's genius. And Tony, I actually call bullshit on your arguments. If this were a Campagnolo $75 t-shirt, which is very basic, just basically a $75 t-shirt that says Campagnolo, you'd be all over it. You'd have it in pink, yellow, and green. I think you're yeah. I don't think your arguments make any sense. I think it's a genius release by Stelbel.
Speaking of, they also actually have a retro jersey with a Campagnolo logo on it. Very, very retro. So Tony probably has already ordered that and is waiting for it. But in terms of this kit, the like the sort of cream beige one, it to me, it actually the mock-up looks like it's ripped off of the service course. I don't know if you've ever seen their kits, but it's looks like the same typeface, it's the same logo placement. So for a company that like produces such, in my opinion, because I'm with you on the bike design, they're like iconic and classic. This is, I thought I actually, when I first saw it, I thought it was like a service course collaboration. And yeah, I'm with Tony on this one. It looks just half-assed.
From what Alex was saying, from a marketing perspective, I think it does make sense, but I definitely agree. It looks exactly like that service course jersey that you're talking about. And I know which one you're talking about. But if you zoom in on the second photo, you can see on the zipper, it says Santini, which is a kit manufacturer from Italy. And they actually make custom kit, but they also make kit for like a lot of, I don't know if I actually am allowed to say this, but they make kit for some of the bigger brands that a lot of people we know buy kit from. And
oh, scoop.
So like, I mean, this is like a big kit manufacturer. They're buying these kit. They're not making them themselves, which obviously like, I don't think anyone assumed that they were making them themselves. They make bikes. They don't make kit. Mm-hmm. But that being said, you would expect a little bit better quality when you scroll to the next photo. This is like a black kit, but you can see if you look at the seam and you zoom in on it, it's actually like you can see the line of white, which makes me think that they just printed it. It's not actually black fabric, and it like looks stretched out where the phone is. You know, it's got that kind of like black with a white background, which I think just looks so cheap. And then, yeah, I don't know. Generally, unimpressed in that sort of sense. The colors are pretty standard, but you know, they could have obviously done better.
I think this thing is going to fly off the shelves from people who have been on the 12-year wait list for a Stelbel frame. They can't get it. What's the next best thing you can do? You buy a Stelbel jersey for 250 euros or whatever. My only beef, I do want to point out, if you look at their Instagram post of the release that they did, the guy, and first of all, I think that's a POC helmet or POC, not sure how you pronounce it, straight into the canal. POC helmets, they look like a mushroom. Throw that into the canal. But even worse, the guy is wearing black shoes and white socks, which we've covered this
Ooh.
on a previous episode.
man.
That's a big no-no. You absolutely cannot wear black shoes with white socks. You could wear the opposite, but you cannot do that. That's a major faux pas on our friend Stelbel's part.
Do we think that maybe somebody has hacked the website and has just put this up and is like trying to sell? Maybe it's Santini. You know, they're just trying to sell their own kit, because like none of this feels in line with the style and quality that Stelbel is known for.
I mean, if the Campagnolos t-shirts feel in line with that, like, have you seen one of those in real life? It's a t-shirt, like, you know.
Yeah, but it says Campagnolo.
Yeah, I don't touch it and feel, this is Campagnolo quality t-shirt material. You know, it's a t-shirt.
I don't know. Let's ask Tony. He probably owns 5 of them.
I do not own any, but every time I see one, I get tempted. With this Stelbel release, you wonder if it's just to keep sort of their like Alex said about their marketing, right? Kind of get it out in the wild. Probably not a lot of people have heard of it. People sort of asking questions, but with such a sort of poor quality release, could it? I would ask maybe if it could do a detriment to them, but if anybody hasn't looked at their bikes and goes on their Instagram or their website and just sees what their bikes are, they're so beautiful that it doesn't matter how much they fucked up this kit release and as well as the average, the website stuff, like Alex said, black socks, white shoes. Ooh, that's no good. That's no bueno. So yeah, I mean, Campagnolo t-shirts and sweatshirts are great. They look beautiful. They also, like I said last week with off the race stuff, off race kit, I like to sort of advertise that I'm a cyclist. I don't want people thinking when I say, I'm into bikes, that I'm riding a hybrid, hybrid to the park to have some wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese is pro, though. Wine and cheese.
Very pro. But it's a hybrid bike pro. I don't think so. I want to just my Pashley. I ride my Pashley to the park for some wine and cheese with a beautiful blanket and everything like that. But
you don't own a Pashley?
I ride my theoretical Pashley.
All right, so let's get into our next segment called the Panache Police. The Panache Police is basically a collection of rants, opinions on current trends that we see in the world of cycling, and our takes are always hot on the Panache Police. This week, we will go with our very special guest, Lily, who has some very important takes to drop.
This is going to be my most controversial take today. I take myself out of the fashion conversation in cycling quite a bit because I don't want to wear PNS, and I just am uninspired by the kit that I see, to be honest.
Wow.
There's really my brand loyalty is purely functional at this point. I think that there are some things that are okay. I personally really like Castelli bibs, but that's just I really like how they feel.
So let's get into that a little bit. Why do you have a strict no PNS rule?
Oh, all right. We're going to go there.
Yes, I want to go there. I mean,
we're going to go there.
You can't avoid PNS in today's world. Well, we trash them, but we all, I mean, deep down,
they have we
love
colors.
them, right? It's we trash them because we love them. So
we trash them because they're sort of the top of their game right now.
Yes.
In the sense that they're sort of controlling the style portion of cycling, and you can see, it's sort of, it's like, it's hating the prom king a little bit.
They're the king. Everybody wants to be the king, and therefore the king attracts a lot of attention. That's why, people talk about the New England Patriots every week. It's that sort of thing. So Lily, why no PNS?
I mean, okay, I can dabble in the fact that it's obscenely priced for the product that it is. It's a great quality, but the price is insane. But that's a whole other thing. I think for me personally, I see it too much. Everyone has the same stuff. It looks good, but it's way too much. What I really think, though, is that the way I see it, cycling fashion is so stagnant and monotone. And it's funny because these colors are actually pretty monotone, but monotone in its thing, because the actual environment is so full of just these men in their 40s that are white, and actual fashion, the way actual fashion evolves is through POC designers and queer culture that are like taking on these interesting things that they've been marginalized and able to like accept, and then everyone appropriates that. That's how real fashion works. But cycling is so closed as a thing that you have these just like really boring, like what the guy who studied business and works in finance, no offense to anyone who does that, would, like wear and look good in. But it's not exciting.
I did just want to quickly clarify something. None of us are in our 40s.
But also, I think what Lily's getting at with PNS is, the sort of, definition of the panache, right? It's good, but in a very sort of steady way, right? There's no sort of dandyism or sort of panache. I mean, I think that's why we were kind of a bit excited about the Parakit last week, is because it kind of gave a little something different. Like and to Lily's point, with a lot of, where sort of everyday fashion comes from in the sort of marginalized communities, is that you need a lot of character to really do it well. You can't force it. You can't, if you're going to copy it, you've got to copy someone who's already done a great job. And so if a bunch of sort of people without that sense is designing something, then they're not going to do a good job, and it's just going to look like shit. So they kind of keep it simple, I guess.
But Normal is very safe. They're not taking a lot of risks. It's good. It's very nice. It's sort of a sure bet. You're not going to go wrong with it, but it's very safe. And I guess I sort of agree with Lily that it's not especially creative.
And I mean, the rules they're not different for pro cycling, but I'm gonna have to say it, like, the stuff that EF has been doing, I think it's cool. Like, I think
we love EF on here. We love EF. We love this stuff.
Some people don't love it. I think that the collab with Palace, that's really interesting. That's like taking cycling to like a new audience. That's sort of like pushing the boundary there. That's sort of like weird shit on jerseys. Like, I want to buy a jersey that's chaotic, that isn't Rafa. Like, I want to buy like a jersey from like a small jersey maker that's chaotic. And there are some of those popping up on Instagram. But they're still like small enough that like they're pretty expensive, which is like, it makes sense. They're like making small batches of stuff, but I think those are the really interesting things.
I don't know if you would agree with me, but when I look at the PNS kits that they make for women, I seem to notice that the designs are the exact same as the men's kits. And is it a problem sometimes that some kit makers, when they design things for women, they basically take, a slightly different cut or whatever, but then they put a bunch of flowers and pink and purple in there and make it really girly, sort of like the baseball hat, right? You've got a Boston Red Sox hat, the regular navy and red, and then they make it for women. It's like pink, right? Because they just automatically assume that women want to wear pink, which is kind of dumb in a way. Now, PNS, at least they're not doing that. Like, they're saying, look, we think that we design nice kits. Our kits are what they are. And yeah, they're going to be the exact same designs for women as for men. I think there's something to be said for that.
No, I definitely agree. And I mean, like, you see it with some of the more traditional brands, like something like Q36, like they'll have a pair of bibs that's the exact same, but the straps are floral for the woman's one, just because it's for women.
We gotta let you know.
Yeah, just in case you forget halfway through a ride, oh, I remembered I'm a woman. There's the flower, But I think, and it's stuff like that really kind of tells me like we're not out of the weeds there yet, Recently, Liv came out with this kit, which is floral and has like a purple theme. And, their marketing for it, or just when they were talking about it, when they like released it, was saying it's unapologetically feminine. That was the exact wording that they used. And I think that's cool in some ways, because I know, of course, like a lot of women do want to wear those colors and florals, and that's totally fine, 100%. But if they don't want to wear that, the riders on that team are going to still have to wear that. They have no choice. They're on a cycling team. They have to wear that kit, and that's that sort of like reclaiming sort of stance that really annoys me, because we aren't out of the weeds yet. Like, there are still so many kits that are just only coming floral design for women.
So you would say that the Liv kit is in the canal?
Oh, definitely.
You would not want to see it. You don't. You want. You think that just shouldn't be in cycling right now. We need to move forward. So you're tossing in the canal.
Until they're making women's kits that are red, that ugly red that men's kits sometimes have, and that's like the majority of them, then they could be like, yeah, we're reclaiming the florals, we're reclaiming the purple. But like at this point, like, dude, like I have no interest in like reclaiming that. Some people might, but they can still find it. They're not having issues like reclaiming it. It's still out there.
Maybe that's a project for women's cycling kit makers, which is to appropriate Cofidis culture.
Yes, see that it's like a camp almost. I want like campy cycling kit that's cut nicely. That's not like vintage, but like a vintage style jersey, but with like longer sleeves. That's what I want.
What about the Canyon SRAM kit? I personally think it's good. It really pains me to say anything good about SRAM, which I think is the absolute worst brand out there in cycling. But any thoughts on the Canyon SRAM kit?
I like it. I think I did a ranking at some point of all the women's kits, and I think I put it, I want to say second after CCC, maybe.
Hold on.
Yeah, dude, the orange is sick.
I mean, okay, I think we've made a mistake.
Yeah, sorry, Lily. You're off the rest of the podcast. No, oh man. I mean,
yeah.
Lily's going into the canal.
I mean, that team went into the canal, so.
The team is currently in the canal, yes. But the Canyon SRAM one is like, I think what they did, like there's purple and there's pink in there, but there's also like all these other colors, and the base is like black and it's like galactic. Like there's something going on there. They're giving them like a whole movement. I mean, obviously it's Rafa, when you see something good and you're like, oh, Rafa did it, it's like, okay, well, yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that SRAM isn't actually making the kit, because the bibs would just rip every time. Like SRAM can't make a front derailleur that works, so I absolutely would not trust them to make a functional pair of bibs.
So, before we move on to the next segment, I did just want to mention a flagrant violation that I think would absolutely get the Panache police called. I almost called them, except I wasn't sure what number to call. But I was on a ride, I think last Sunday, solo ride, just 80K return ride, one cafe stop, just nice Sunday ride. I was at the cafe. This group of older gentlemen, I use the term gentlemen loosely, they were dentists. They came up to the cafe behind me, and this one guy took off his shoes and he walked into the cafe in his cycling socks. And listen, I know cycling shoes are horribly uncomfortable, and if they're uncomfortable and they look good, even better. But you will absolutely be arrested by the Panache police for this. Like walking into the cafe in your cycling socks, that is disgusting.
What model of Cervelo did he have?
I was going to ask, was it a felt? Was it a felt? Or
there was a huge pile of Cervelos, felts, and Treks. I'm not sure which one he was on. Like the logos were so big between the three of them, I think I went blind.
I think felt is recommended by the American Dental Association or something like that.
So I'm going to jump in because I'm going to go beyond just cycling with my take on shoes. And that is, shoes are one of the most important parts of your outfit. That includes cycling, that includes everyday wear. And so when I go anywhere, I refuse to take my shoes off. I put a lot of time and thought into my shoes. So in that sense, so when I'm adding that into cycling, the shoes I have for cycling, what I've purchased wasn't a haphazard thought. It was, directed at what's going to go well with all my kit, what's going to go well with my bike. So it doesn't matter. We already talked about it. It doesn't matter if it's uncomfortable. Your shoes should be a curated part of your outfit, and you shouldn't be taking that off. You're destroying your outfit. This guy in his Grand Fondo jersey is just not going to look quite as good as it did before.
All right, let's move on to our next segment, Into the Canal, where we throw bad trends and stuff that we hate into Montreal's Lachine Canal. We've thrown a lot of stuff into the canal so far, but there's a lot more to throw in there. We'll start with Lily.
All right. I fucking hate knee warmers. I think that they are so ugly. You look so dumb when you wear them. It's horrible. And I understand they serve a purpose in a very short range of maybe 3 degrees where you don't need full leg warmers or your knees can be exposed. But oh my God, I think that it looks so bad.
I've ridden bikes a bit in Europe, and I've actually seen them a lot, stopping at cafes in Europe. the like 57-year-old European dentist from whatever France or Switzerland, like they love their knee warmers over there. And I think it's because European temperatures, they're exactly in that range in the month of March where you need knee warmers, or big mountains in the Alps or whatever. You get to a certain altitude that the temperature is exactly perfect for knee warmers. But in other places, like here, it's either too hot or too cold for them, and you look like an absolute idiot wearing them.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm jumping into the canal. I'm going to swim in it. I'm going to grab the knee warmers and pull them back out because I love a knee warmer. I absolutely love a knee warmer. I don't know if it's like Lily said about sort of temperature regulation. Where we are in Canada, you get a lot of stuff and it fluctuates within a couple hours. I love a knee warmer. I actually think they look great because, you still get a good sort of calf showing. You're going to show a lot of, the muscular calf, but then you're sort of staying warm and kind of just that extra little bit. So this is probably the first time that I'm actually in disagreement with the rest of the team. I like a knee warmer.
I will say there's actually what's really interesting about you jumping into the canal is the fact that the reason poodles are shaved that way is so that their joints stay warm, because they were like a water swimming dog or something in the cold winter. I don't know the details on this, but it actually serves the same function as a knee warmer would theoretically. So it's cute that you would do that, but they still look ugly as shit.
So knee warmers are for poodles, is basically what
Yes.
you're saying. I can agree with that take. Yeah, and I would also throw poodles into the canal while we're at it. No good.
Ooh.
All right, Tony, what's your canal item this week?
So mine, I think, is probably going to get a little bit of commentary on not being style related, but I think overall I see good style on the bike as a form of etiquette. It's good manners. It's for yourself, and it's for the sort of viewing public of you out on the road, where we all kind of look good, and it's a form of etiquette. So this is another key form of etiquette, and that is being late to the group ride. I think that it's in the canal. It's we're all busy. Time is of the essence, and it's at 5:30 a.m. We don't want to wait for you. So get your cycling kit and your bike and that etiquette, and then also bring the etiquette of coming on time for the group ride into the canal.
Style is a state of mind. My canal item this week is camo as a proposition for cycling kits. If you wear camo kit, you have to go into the canal. So I think Search and State out of New York City, I think they're a cool brand. They make cool stuff. Their marketing is good. They have a lot of really nice jerseys. I think their stuff is handmade in New York City. Very good proposition overall. But that goddamn camo kit, they need to retire it. I think, it might have been cool for about the 10 seconds it came out. It is no longer cool. We need to retire any camo kit that we have. Camo bar tape as well. You throw that into the canal. One thing I could be okay with is, for example, like how Major League Baseball, they do camo hats once a year in May for Memorial Day to, salute the troops or whatever. Like I could be on board with that, but anything more than once a year, to me is completely unacceptable. So camo is going into the canal.
I don't think I've ever seen a camo kit.
Oh, I've seen a lot. They're all over the place. And I think the most famous one is probably the Search and State one. But there's like cheaper AliExpress ones out there that people are wearing. Look, if I threw Search and State camo into the canal, I mean, AliExpress camo is going into the sewer part of the canal. Like it is very bad.
I think that's a very triathlete sort of pattern that you
Oh,
might see.
that is the hot takes we brought you on for, Lily.
No, but I agree with that. Triathletes are the kind of hardos that definitely want you to know that they wear camo. Like they are big kind of military minded people, and they definitely wear camo. Triathletes are also going into the canal.
Yeah, there's a whole episode to be done on triathlon kit, but I mean that's just
that's a special episode.
I think that's a short episode because we just throw it all in the canal.
It's a rabbit hole. Let's not go there. All right, Warren, what's your canal item this week?
So For me this week, I want to throw lace-up cycling shoes into the canal. And anytime I go on like a cycling forum and you're like maybe trying to find out like what are some good shoes people recommend, blah blah blah, you always have people talking about lace-up cycling shoes as like the stylish option. And I think we've covered this, the fact that you should be only wearing double BOA shoes, but I also wanted to talk about lace-ups from a style perspective. Is I personally think it looks like you needed somebody to tie your shoes before you left the house. Like, I don't think they look good. I think they look like bowling shoes with cycling cleats attached to them. And then, like, I know we don't really talk about performance, but I do think it's worth mentioning that I owned a pair of lace-up cycling shoes before I knew better, before I knew double BOA was the only way. And they were like, they never stayed tight, ever. Like, always had to redo them at some point during a ride. I don't buy that laces are like more adjustable than BOA. That's somebody who's never worn a BOA saying that. Yeah, they're kind of like the casual footwear option for cycling. Like, like if Skechers expands into cycling, they're going to make lace-up shoes.
Look, in the holy church of cycling fashion week, I think the first commandment is thou shalt wear double BOA at all times. Like, it's really double BOA or bust. And I think our listeners know that at this point. I do have a question though, and I agree that lace ups are canal. What about Velcro? I think I can kind of get on board with Velcro in like a late 1990s Euro way, especially if they're like white or red and it's made by Diadora or CD, for example. Like, I think I could probably get on board with Velcro.
There's some, you know what? Like, I'm not afraid to admit it. There are some good-looking Velcro shoes out there. Physique makes some. Like, if you get into like the 3-layer Velcro Mavic entry-level shoes, not so great looking. But like, Velcro is not in the canal. It's just lace-ups for me. I think Velcro, the right Velcro shoe, can be done pretty nicely. And in terms of like secure, it's better than laces. It's not double BOA, but better than laces.
I feel like lace up shoes got big with the like fixie messenger crowd who like wanted to get into road cycling but didn't want to be like a road cyclist. Like, they had to let you know that they were still into, grunge punk and stuff like that. So it was like this kind of like bullshit way of being like, oh, like, yeah, I know riding a road bike's way better than my stupid ass fixie, but like, I don't want to be one of you guys. I got a lace up shoe. And so not being one of you guys is bullshit. That's into the canal. So just let the wave of cycling and its rules wash over you, and just accept that there's a better way to do things in cycling. And we're the ones espousing it right now, but it's been espoused for years. You don't need to try and hold on to your fixie messenger cred.
Tony, do you think that messenger crowd would also wear a Campagnolo t-shirt like the 5-1
Never. They would never wear a Campagnolo t-shirt. Or it would be some sort of thing where it was like, a knockoff of the Campagnolo logo, and it said something like, I don't know. I'm not clever enough to come up with something now.
Probably more like a Cinelli t-shirt. I could see.
Oh yeah, a Cinelli for sure. They'd be wearing a Cinelli with it. They'd have their cycling cap on while they went out to the bar or some bullshit.
I just think I love how every time you mention his shirts, he gets more into his collection.
I was gonna say, I could see those messenger fixie guys that they would wear a Campagnolo shirt if they bought it at Value Village.
Which it will never be available at Value Village because the quality is so good. It will last so long. Anyone who purchases one will have it for a lifetime. They'll be passing it down to their kids. Their kids will be passing it down to their kids. People will be saying, hey, where'd you get the Campagnolo shirt? And say, well, it was my grandfather's.
Would you buy a pair of Stelbel bibs if you found them on the rack at Goodwill for $3?
Still no. No.
Okay, so our next segment, we rate your bike for free. So this is a segment where listeners submit their bicycles to us by email at cyclingfashionweek@gmail.com, and we carefully analyze and review our listeners' bikes. We do this for free because that's what we do here on Cycling Fashion Week. And we also give our listeners tips and advice on how to improve the style of their bike. We've had some very good submissions so far. Not a surprise that our listeners are a stylish bunch and that they own nice bikes. But let's do this week's submission. The email comes to us from from David from London, Canada. So last week we had Harry from London over in the United Kingdom. Now it's Dave from London, Canada. He says, "Hey there, my name is Dave from London. Love the podcast so far. Hope you guys can rate my Cat 9 for me. Happy to send over any info or if you need any more pictures. Have a lovely day, Dave." So very nice short email from Dave. And yeah, he has a picture of his Cat 9. We'll post it on our Instagram account at Cycling Fashion Week. I'll just describe it a little bit and then you guys can go into the analysis of the bike. It is a red, black, and silver Cat 9. It has normal seat stays, which is a very big plus in my opinion. It's got the old Cannondale lettering. One thing that's actually really nice too on that bike, the crank and the overall drivetrain is sort of silver colored, which is a little bit vintage almost, which I like. And yeah, that's Dave's Cat 9. So guys, what did we, and Lily as well, what did we think about Dave's Cat 9?
Well, as a former CAD 10 owner myself, I had one for 5 years. Like I mean, maybe a little biased, but also I think CADs are king. They're just kind of the classic race bike look, like the perfect two triangles. So that alone enters like 8 out of 10 territory, and then a CAD 9 has kind of like that a bit of history to it because it's a bit older. So I like that. I do have to mention his stem looks a little short. So I definitely think he should be going up to like 120 millimeter stem and with a negative drop to it because it looks like maybe around 0. And some spacers above the stem. Got to cut those off, Dave. Get rid of them. And it's handmade in the USA. Like that's. I mean, that used to be stylish. That used to carry some cachet. Don't know about now, but
to me, if you own a CAD, it's a kind of saw bike. Like you're dealing with someone who, who likes a classic race geometry. In my opinion, the greatest CAD of all 5 was the CAD 5 with the Psycho paint job, reminiscent of the GOAT, Mario Cipollini. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing not to like about this CAD 9 that Dave submitted here. I think it's a great bike. I agree with Warren. He needs to immediately and irretrievably slam that stem. We don't care what it does to your back, Dave. You absolutely have to slam that stem. But yeah, I think this is a minimum of 8 out of 10 for me. And the tan sidewalls too. Bonus points for the tan sidewalls. 8.5 out of 10.
So I'm actually gonna agree with Alex on the number. I think it's pretty high because there are some flaws. So I'm gonna say it's an 8.5. Sort of quick reiteration, CAD is king, sort of greatest aluminum series, the sort of vintage box rims, the tan sidewalls, always a win. And I'm going to keep it high because he does have some fixes, but they are fairly easy fixes for him to do. Everyone so far has commented on the stem and the stack above. Okay, quick, we got to get a longer stem. We got to flip a negative stem. You got to cut that. Fairly easy to do. Secondly, you still have the pie plate, the dork disc, as Alex calls it, on the back, which is the plastic piece between your spokes and your largest rear cog. Another easy fix, get rid of it. You're going to look a lot better. I just want to make one quick other comment. The Cycling Fashion Week group typically only allows bikes with straight forks. Curved forks are typically a no-no. Now, this is my one exception. This fork here, though has a curve on it, the overall profile and taper and the way it looks with the rest of the bike is A-okay by me. So I'm happy to give that a pass for not having a straight fork. But yeah, some quick fixes for our boy Dave here, and this bike will be a 10 out of 10 in no time.
And the fork here, I would say, is also period appropriate because if I'm not mistaken, I think the CAD 9 is from 2010, and it's just how forks were back then. So to me, it's kind of respectful of the history, and additional props to Dave. I mean, 2010, I guess you'd be a little, you're getting into sort of neo vintage territory here. So if you hold on to that bike for a few more years, I think it'll have some collectability at some point. So yeah, I really like it.
I just want to point out that the first group ride I ever went on, Tony was there, and he was the one who told me I should get rid of my pie plate. I was still wearing my thrifted Adidas big shorts at that point. My first and only pair at the time.
We all start somewhere, Lily, but the pie plate is a non-starter. Get rid of
I've
that
never
thing.
looked back since then. So.
Yeah.
But that's why there's global podcasts such as Cycling Fashion Week, where you can learn the rules, right? Before eventually breaking them. But before breaking them, you got to learn them.
So this bike, I think what I thought was really cool about it was how consistent the colorways are. You know, you have those like little silver details in the frame, the silver crane, the wheels. You know, it goes really well. You know, there's like black details, black. It matches really nicely. There are a few things I didn't like it about it though, but they're pretty nitpicky. So
That's what we like. We like nitpicky.
the biggest thing I will say, Dave from London, I know it's kind of annoying, but you really, really need to fix your bar tape. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It sucks and it's so hard to do. But you know, if you really get frustrated, you can just bring it into a shop. But it looks like it's really bunched up.
SheldonBrown.com. Go to SheldonBrown.com and look up how to wrap your bar tape.
And then I guess like it is like the vintage style, but I think that in the front, the cables could be cut a tiny bit shorter. The only other issue I have, like, it's a really clean build, but remember that shade of red I was talking about earlier? This is a callback to that shade of red. This is the exact shade of red that I'm like, you know, if this is the man red, that once women's jerseys are this color, then we can reclaim pink and purple, but I just don't like this shade of red personally. But that's just me. I know it's a very popular color, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Kofidis red, 7. Well, look, Dave, thank you so much for submitting your bike. I think we've all identified a few fixes here, but nothing is, nothing is a major fix here. They're all small things that you could probably get done in 20 minutes by going to a shop. The bar tape, cutting the steer tube, slamming the stem a little bit. These are all fairly easy things. So, overall, you get a very high panache rating for this Cannondale CAD 9. Thanks again, Dave, for submitting it. Our listeners, again, can submit their bikes, and we rate your bike for free at cyclingfashionweek@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to analyze it on the show.
Just a quick follow-up, Alex. We would like to see the bike after you do these improvements to A, see that you follow the rules correctly, and B, maybe show our listeners on our Instagram at Cycling Fashion Week how helpful we are to those out in the cycling world.
All right, that's it for this week's show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. You can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to tell your friends about the podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Cycling Fashion Week, where we regularly post content. With respect to the show, we'll post the bike that we rated again this week, and you can write to us at cyclingfashionweek@gmail.com. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.